We have our own slice of heaven here this morning, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Amazing. It's so beautiful. This fall is very intoxicating. And as I mentioned last night, it's sort of a new thing for me, having grown up in South America and then spent most of my adult life in Northern California. I never got to experience this shower of gold. It's extraordinary. Now here we are in this slice of heaven, this beautiful community. We're so happy to be here. And there's also a whole lot going on in the world right now. How is everybody doing in the midst of all this shakeup? It's a little unnerving, isn't it? I mean, not only do we have natural disasters, this quartet of hurricanes, Harvey, Irma, Maria, Nate, and then we have human tragedy that has been generated by human ignorance. And we try to make sense of this, and it's really hard. But there's one thing that's certain, that in the midst of this turbulence, in the midst of this suffering, there's also been huge expressions of bravery, of courage, kindness, generosity, open-heartedness, givingness, willingness to be present, to stand up and hold a vision that is higher than the chaos that is immediately present. And that's the beautiful thing right now. Not that we've had difficulty, but what difficulty has revealed in the human spirit. Because every moment we're at choice. Do we want to collapse into the chaos, or do we want to root ourselves in what we know to be true within our being? That we are all made in the image of God. We are all divine vessels for that sacred expression. We all come from God, and our choice is simply, do we become who we truly are, or do we collapse under the illusion of separation and smallness? We bring heaven down to earth when we step into our true selves. Now, we've all had challenges in our lives. There's no question. And I think without exception, we can look back on those most difficult moments, those times when we've been brought to our knees, and maybe we've realized that, oh, that actually grew us. I learned because of this. I became more aligned with my true self when I broke out of the small idea of who I was. Does that ring a bell for anybody? The time you lost your job, the divorce, the diagnosis of a disease. You know, I think about, the child that loses a tooth and it's like, oh, I lost my tooth. Well, thank God we lost that tooth, because it'd be sort of funny walking around as adults with a set of baby teeth. We heartbreak for our first, lost love in high school. Well, that needed to happen in order for us to open up and really learn how to love, so that we could connect with our soulmate. And if we maybe connected with that one that we thought was our soulmate, but things didn't quite work out, with each iteration, we continue to grow and polish our understanding of our capacity to be instruments for God's presence, to be true purveyors of love, of authentic beingness. There are different steps in life, and I, years ago, I've been writing about gratitude and awe for years. I've been singing about it. I was writing about kindness, but on a personal note, it was only about 6.5 years ago when I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and was given a 3% chance of survival that I appealed a whole new level of understanding for myself of the preciousness and privilege of what it is to be alive. The gift, the simple things, the noticing of the way the light falls on the leaf, or the smell of the fresh breeze as it brushed my face. And that's when I couldn't move because I was so sick. And then I thought I had it, and then the cancer came back again. And then it came back again. But all the while, life is this perfect, self-correcting mechanism that gives us opportunities again and again to align to what really matters, what really is our purpose here, which is to discover and embody our divine nature, which is love. Lisa and I just came back on Thursday from Colorado, from Denver. My mother, 78 years old, perfect health. She was a lifelong yogini. Like 6 weeks ago, she was standing on her head in the lotus pose, if you can imagine that. Snorkeling. She started a new career at the age of 75, and she was a top-selling realtor on the island of Kauai. And less than 6 weeks ago, she was also diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And through a series of very unanticipated events, she ended up in ICU. So a week ago, today, Lisa and I flew to Denver to see my mom in ICU, not knowing what lied ahead. It's a very poignant and powerful time. And we stayed at a hotel right across the street from a big medical campus. There was a hospital for children, and there was also this larger hospital. It's a teaching hospital, so it's like this whole city area, but it's also isolated from Denver proper. In the hotel, pretty much everybody who was there because either they or somebody that they loved was undergoing some sort of critical care. And what was profound was that there in the hotel, there was a level of compassion and gentleness and kindness, because everybody kind of saw each other in the same boat, like, we're all going through a really poignant time right now. And the staff was also very, very kind and gentle. Like, anything that you needed, they would do. We arrived, our coffee maker wasn't working, and we just wanted hot water for tea. That night we came, and we called, and because it wasn't working, and they brought another one, and it wasn't working, and we said, all we really want is a hot cup of tea. And so the front desk guy went into the kitchen and brought us a hot pitcher of water, or a pitcher of hot water, just like going above and beyond, recognizing that as human beings, when we're in a time of difficulty or crisis, we can be there for each other and make a meaningful difference. So that next morning in the elevator, there was this young mother with her daughter Natalie who was going across the street to find out whether or not Natalie would need to have surgery for a heart issue. And I was there connecting with her, saying, my prayers are with you. My prayers are with you, knowing the highest and best outcome. We connected with a young woman, 33 years old, whose husband, also super healthy, discovered at the age of 33 that he was suffering from ocular melanoma. I'd never heard of it, she'd never heard of it, and he was facing blindness. But again, it was like, go team, come on, we can, like, our prayers are with you. Then there was this beautiful elderly woman who rode the shuttle back with us, and she told us that she was there for her grandson, Josue, who at 10 years old was confronting the loss of his kidney. And Lisa and I we ask for people's names so we can hold them in our prayers. And she said, my name's Ardelia, my grandson's name is Josue, and I also ask for your prayers for my daughter and her husband, Josue's parents, because this stress is breaking them down and they're fighting so much between themselves. They are blaming each other for what is going on with their son. And we reflected, sadly, that's often what happens. When we're in times of struggle and crisis, we break down, we can break down and look for blame. And we blame each other. We want to be right, and we want to find somebody else to be wrong, that it's their fault, because we want to make sense of the senseless. And the mind is a binary system. It's a binary organ. It understands by right or wrong, this or that, good or bad. And it's hard to comprehend how to hold the two together. That neither of us wants this, and it's hard, but we can hold this space in love. And holding that space in love is when we operate from the wisdom of the heart. And that's what is being called forth from all of us right now. To move beyond divisive thinking of a fractured world, a world that's struggling, and deepen into the wisdom of the heart. A way of perceiving the world as an expression of divine, as everywhere that we lay our eyes, there is the face of God. The mind may not comprehend it, but the heart has the capacity to hold paradox, to hold contradictions. And that is what grows us. And that's what is our purpose here on the planet, is to grow our consciousness from childlike, immature thinking of, it's your fault, let me put the blame here, let me say this is wrong and this is right, I'm better than you, and ascend to a consciousness of, how can I be the presence of God right here, right now? How can God use me so that I can be an instrument of love? I want to share a poem with you that I wrote a couple of months ago. It's called What If? What if? What if heartbreak is an opening for love? Frustration, an invitation for patience. What if every wound weeps its own balm for healing? Every question beckons an answer, like rhythm inspires a dancer to move and express the thing that has yet to be revealed. Life generously offers a steady stream of uninvited guests, unsolicited opportunities to shake us from listless slumber. The accident, the quiet sorrow, the inconsolable cry for what can't be solved. What if, when life breaks in a way unplanned, light shines through the fracture, giving us a chance to understand the riddle within the mystery. Our present is our history until we heal our past. What if suffering grows compassion and conflict settles into understanding? What if, in this ever-changing day-to-day, every trouble that comes our way is an opportunity to grow and evolve, to reveal a new direction, a truer expression, always closer to perfection, meaning clearer, nearer to the dear, beloved one? What if you and I, the bees and the bear, the stars and the sun, together embody the singular presence of the infinite one? What if we move beyond what, where, why, and how, and simply ask, what would love do now? What would love do now? What if that is our guiding GPS? And when we talk about GPS, what I like is now technology is a beautiful metaphor for what is occurring internally for all of us. I don't know about you, but I recently got the upgraded operating system for my iPhone. I can download this and all of a sudden my iPhone and my iPad and my computer has a great deal more functionality. Now, oddly enough, as human beings, we are always given opportunities to upgrade our consciousness. But this operating system is so reluctant to let go and allow that up-leveling of functionality. We clutch onto the familiar and we hold on often until it's too painful. And finally we let go. We let go, and as we let go, we ascend. Because then we begin to savor the taste of something that is truer to our divine nature. But so often our little ego self is so unwilling to say, no. I mean, it just doesn't want to let go of what it knows because it clings to the familiar. It clings to the comfortable, even when the comfortable really isn't comfortable. But it's what is known. But life continues to offer us these opportunities, these uninvited guests, these unsolicited opportunities to grow up. And grow up really is code for deepening into love. You know that mother birds, when they build their nests, in order to prompt their little chicks to fly, they actually put twigs in there that will prod and poke the little hatchlings, because otherwise they'll stay very comfortably in the nest. That's how we are. Until we're prodded by something, we just want to stay exactly where we are. So much so that those same little chicks, before they hatch, when they're in the eggs and they're forming, it's only when they've grown big enough to feel like they're about to die and are suffocating. It's that feeling of suffocation that makes them peck through the egg shell, so that they actually are able to wake up and be born into who they are meant to be. That's the same with us. So what if we look at these challenges in life, these things that come our way that rattle us to the core, and what's true is the more we are rattled to the core, the more we wake up and ascend to our true nature. So 3 things to keep in mind. How do we do this? How do we upgrade our consciousness? The first thing that I will offer is that we move beyond binary thinking. We move beyond duality between the right, wrong, good, bad. That is a thinking system that belongs to the small self, the egoic self. That's how this little mind, the mind that wants to think and make sense of everything, is always in a state of judging, labeling. And that's how we learn from the time we're kids. This is big, this is small, this is fat, this is skinny, this is that. And all the while, that little ego self wants to say, I'm good, I'm right, you're wrong. And any time we come into some sort of obstacle or wall, it's like, no, but I'm right. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm right, because that's the ego's job, is to try to fortify its understanding of self. But that keeps us small, because that keeps us stuck in that break of duality. Rumi says it. Out beyond ideas of right thinking and wrong thinking, right doing and wrong doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. All the saints and mystics across all traditions recognize that field beyond duality, beyond fracture, beyond divisiveness, unity. That unity consciousness is where we find our truest expression, our truest nature, our Buddha nature, our Christ consciousness. That is the healing of the world. That's where all the slivers come together and we can see the wholeness and the God in ourselves and each other. So, step number 1, let's move beyond either or and ascend to both and. The heart can hold that paradox. The heart can embrace that both and go far beyond the smallness of the intellect that logically can only hold this or that. Make sense? The next thing that I would invite us to do is this ego thing I've been talking about, the ego self. So often people want to say, oh, I've gotten rid of my ego, or I need to get rid of my ego. No. The ego is just the tool that helps us maneuver through this time-space continuum that we know as human life. But what we need to do is enlist the ego in service to the soul. When the ego is a servant to the soul, to the wise one, the infinite, eternal presence within us, then we're good to go. It's the ego, when it is unmoored from the soul, that wreaks havoc in the world, that gets tangled up in the illusion. And that's what happens. We see it in our world when we equate celebrity with success, or notoriety with meaning, or busyness with purpose. When we bring that ego back and anchor it into our God presence within, then we're happy just to show up and be a channel through which that divine wisdom, action, and presence can take place. I love that Sister Teresa, Mother Teresa, was able to just say, I am a pencil in the hand of God writing a love letter to humanity. Like, that's what we're here for. One of my young artists that I mentor, extremely talented young woman, phenomenally gifted, but she gets tangled up in that question of arrogance and shame. Like, she feels so burdened by her gift, but then she feels ashamed that she's not doing more with it, and then she gets concerned that when she steps out, it's going to be seen as arrogant. And I helped her see that shame and arrogance are just different faces of the same coin, and that coin belongs to the ego. When in fact, the divine self, our true self, the two faces are humility and self-respect. Humility to know that we are here simply to serve that greater love, and self-respect to honor this simply as a channel, as a vehicle, as a medium through which we can be the hands of God, the feet of God in action, the heart in tending to our world and our community and our loved ones. It's honoring our place not as special, because each person on this planet is that very thing. We are all expressions of God. The simple question is, do we wake up to it or not? Do we assume, do we accept our role as those pencils in the hand of God, writing love letters to humanity? Or do we eschew that and say, oh no, I'm the one who has to prove my worth by separating and disconnecting? Our job is simply to show up and be of service to love. It's just love. That's what we're here for. We deepen into love, and in so doing, we evolve. It's not about getting another opposable thumb. Our physical bodies are doing a great job, but it's all about upgrading our consciousness, becoming more loving and present on the planet. So, moving beyond dualistic thinking, enlisting the ego in service to the divine self. And how do we do that? Again, across all traditions, contemplation and meditation. That is the pathway. That softens the ridges of our anxious, rutted thinking. Like the pattern thinking, we see it, we have the same thoughts over and over again. And it's like we walk those paths, and if you can envision a sort of rutted maze, we just keep deepening the ruts of the same thoughts and the same beliefs. And as we do that, it's like these walls get taller and taller around us. And then we meditate. We invite contemplation into our lives, and somehow those ridges, those walls just get soft. So we have the capacity to bridge between these binary matrix of thought and expand to the wisdom of the heart. A lot of people will say, oh, I can't meditate. I've tried that. It's just, I think too much. Welcome to the human race. That's it. And so it's like saying, oh, I'm out of shape and I can't go to the gym because I'm just too out of shape. The idea is we go to the gym to get in shape. And the same is true for our contemplation or our meditative practice. We sit simply to create the container for transformation. So I invite you now to join me in a simple practice. Let's breathe in and exhale. And will you please repeat after me? Be still and know that I am God.
Be still and know that I am God.
Be still and know that I am.
Be still and know that I am.
Be still and know.
Be still and know.
Be still.
Be still.
Be.
Be.
Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you.